Dad. Do it look like his son supposed to be taking your dad? I don't even feel right. Y'all hear this sound? Oh, Tank don't pay his coach.
Gervonta Davis has never been the type to hold back, and after his draw with Lamont Roach, he's making it clear that his camp needs a major shakeup. The decision to part ways with his longtime trainer, Calvin Ford, was already a shock to fans. But now, rumors are swirling that even his new trainer, Barry Hunter, who had been working with him leading up to the Roach fight, might be on his way out. Given how close Tank and Ford were, this move has raised eyebrows. Is Tank making the right call, or is frustration getting the best of him?
When in the gym, the last one out the gym, Tank used to sit on the ring like this and watch me train him.
How old is he at this point?
He was like 7, 8.
Okay.
A lot.
Calvin Ford wasn't even in Gervonta Davis's corner for the Roach fight, and that alone raised eyebrows. Now, Tank is making it clear that he's moving in a different direction, saying it's time for Ford to focus on his family and his younger fighters. In Tank's eyes, his career is entering a new phase, and he needs a team that can push him in a different way. He insists it's not personal, but Ford isn't buying it. "This ain't about me," Ford reportedly told someone close to the situation. "It's about Tank, and right now, he's just looking for someone to blame."
Something we gotta work on in the corner, for sure.
For Calvin Ford, this is bigger than boxing. He took Gervonta Davis in as a kid, helped mold him into a champion, and now, just like that, he's being pushed aside. It's one thing for a fighter to want change, but to Ford, this feels like something else, a betrayal. A sign that maybe Tank doesn't fully grasp the role Ford played in getting him to this point. The Roach fight didn't go as planned, but was that really about training, or was there something deeper at play? Ford has his own answer.
He been with me since I was 7. I used to sleep in Coach Calvin's house. I used to sleep at his job when he was working at a seafood.
You lose focus. You start thinking you got all the answers, that's when things go left, Ford said in frustration. This fight ain't go how he wanted, and now it's like, let me clean house. But you don't throw away your family. And that's the part that stings the most. Ford never saw his role in Tank's life as just a job. He wasn't just there to hold mitts and come up with strategies. He was there when Tank had nothing, pushing him through the tough days, keeping him on track when distractions threatened to pull him away. Now, after one disappointing night in the ring, all of that is being tossed aside. That's why Ford is heated.
Calvin is Calvin. You know what I mean? I got Calvin tatted on me. Calvin ain't going nowhere. Y'all don't even know Calvin for CCO. I know Calvin, you know what I mean? I don't know. Calvin is Pops. He ain't going nowhere. I got that nigga tatted on me.
Barry Hunter, who stepped in to help Tank prepare for Roach, has been around long enough to know that this is just how boxing works sometimes. Fighters make changes when things don't go their way. But even he is surprised at how quickly things are shifting. Tank's looking at everything around him, trying to figure out what went wrong, Hunter said. And right now, it looks like he's thinking of new trainers, a new team, new everything. But is that really the issue? Hunter hasn't said much publicly, but those words make it clear he knows what's coming. If Tank is truly cleaning house, Hunter might not be safe either, and that's what makes this situation so unpredictable.
Because of Tank's comment, because he was asked if Coach Calvin was in his corner, he said, we'll see.
Right, because it's nobody's business, but, you know, he didn't mean anything by that, you know?
Facts. There you go.
They forever family.
There you go. Enough said.
If Tank is serious about completely overhauling his camp, he's going to have to find an entirely new team, and that's not always easy, especially for a fighter of his caliber. The truth is, the Roach fight wasn't supposed to be a struggle. Tank was expected to dominate, make a statement, and remind the world that he's still one of the most dangerous fighters in the sport. Instead, he found himself in a fight that exposed weaknesses, leading to tough questions. Did he take Roach lightly? Did he not train the right way? Was something off in camp? These are the questions Tank is asking himself, and right now, his answer seems to be, I need something new.
So everything is good with Calvin because it's the first time he's not the head trainer in a while.
Yeah, for sure. Calvin is, again, I said, Calvin is Pops. You know what I mean? He will always be around. You know what I mean? So,
But Ford sees it differently. To him, Tank isn't looking at the real issue himself. You gotta ask, was it the trainer or was it the fighter? Ford said. Because last time I checked, nobody threw a single punch that night except him. That's the tension in all of this. Ford believes Tank lost focus. Maybe after years of being told how great he is, he started believing talent alone was enough. Maybe the hunger isn't the same. Maybe this isn't about trainers at all, but about a fighter who needs to take a long, hard look in the mirror. Hunter, while more diplomatic, seems to share some of that view. Tank's at a point in his career where he's got to decide what kind of fighter he wants to be, he said. And switching trainers ain't always the answer.
Man, the story's gonna rebuild itself, you know. But again, that's how you burn bricks. Somebody said this is the true colors of a person that's coming out, man. They can't stand it, you know. Calm is the, I don't like using that word calm, you know, but our Lord knows, he knows.
But Tank isn't backing down. He's convinced that a change is needed, that he needs a team fully locked in on what's next. There's even talk that he's looking to bring in a high-profile trainer, someone with experience coaching multiple world champions. Names are already being thrown around, and it's clear that Tank wants to shake things up in a major way. Still, not everyone is convinced this is the right move. Some in the boxing world believe he's making a huge mistake cutting ties with the people who know him best just because things didn't go his way. Others see it as a natural evolution. Great fighters make tough decisions, and sometimes that means stepping away from the past.
Better now, champ. Better now. Good. Ready for Saturday? That's right. Oh, boy, ready. Huh? Oh, man, what can I say, man? Of course, thanks to somebody that's been in the gym since he was a little baby, so we real familiar with him. Camp was beautiful. Yeah.
But the real question is, will this actually make Tank better, or is frustration clouding his judgment? Ford has already made it clear that he won't beg to be in Tank's corner. I did my job, he said. I took him from nothing to the top. What he does now, that's on him. He's a grown man. Hunter, meanwhile, is waiting to see what happens next. He's not the type to force himself into a situation where he's not wanted, but he also knows how unpredictable boxing can be. Tank could change his mind. Cooler heads could prevail. But right now it looks like Hunter is out, too. And that leaves Tank in a very interesting position.
you got 5 judges, there's no way you ever gonna get a split. You know what I'm saying? Because it gotta always be one be that decide factor. Because with 3, it's like majority. You know what I mean? So, all right, if 3...
He's making a bold move betting on himself, surrounding himself with new voices. But if things don't go his way in his next fight, where does he go from there? Because once you start cutting ties, once you break bonds that took years to build, there's no going back. Ford, despite his frustration, isn't angry, he's disappointed. I just want him to see what he's doing, he said. Because at the end of the day, when all these new people come and go, who's really going to be there? And that's the part Tank hasn't answered yet. However, as much as this situation isn't being talked about, it's a heavy turn for Tank. Meanwhile, Lamont Roach Jr. isn't wasting any time. After their controversial draw, he's making it clear he's pushing for the rematch as soon as possible.
Yeah, y'all had me getting knocked out. To all this, I'm going to go back and look at y'all pages. I promise you. I promise you. I'm so glad the fake boxing media not here neither. Two-tone, showbiz.
Taking to social media, Roach called himself a pound-for-pound talent and declared that he was more than ready to prove it again. With pressure from Roach growing, public demand rising, and the unresolved controversy from their first fight, the rematch is now being discussed for May far sooner than many expected. That's where things get tricky for Tank. If he's serious about making big changes to his camp, this might not be the right time. A rematch on such short notice means adjustments have to be made quickly, and overhauling his entire team in the middle of that process could backfire. Instead of fixing what went wrong against Roach, he could end up creating new problems by rushing into a new system with unfamiliar trainers.
What's going through your mind when you heard the decision?
Nobody like a draw, you know, from a guy that get knockouts and things like that, but it's cool. I feel like if we fight again, I could do more.
Roach believes he won the first fight, and he's carrying that confidence into the rematch. Negotiations. Even though I ain't get the results I deserved, I was the other half of a sellout crowd that broke the record for the highest grossing event in the history of the Barclays Center. Roach wrote on Instagram. I showed that I was a pound-for-pound talent against a generational star. The momentum is with him. Unlike Tank, he's not looking to make any drastic changes. He wants to build on what worked last time. His camp isn't in turmoil, and his team is only getting sharper. Meanwhile, Tank is at a crossroads. He's questioning everything from his preparation to his corner. And while he might feel justified in making those changes, the timing could be his biggest enemy.
Let's hear what he got to say right now.
Important question on everyone's mind: how close is the rematch? How big will it be? How close is it to getting done?
Very close. It's in my mind, it's a done deal, but there are formalities, but it's a done deal, and it's not far off.
If the rematch happens in May, that gives Tank barely 2 months to adjust to a new camp, assuming he even finalizes a new team in time. That's not just a risk, it's a gamble. Fighters usually need months to settle into a new system, learn a trainer's methods, and build the chemistry needed for fight night. Tank wouldn't have that luxury. He'd be stepping into a high-stakes rematch while still figuring out what works and what doesn't in his new setup. It's a dangerous situation, especially considering how the first fight played out. Roach proved he could push Tank in ways few others have.
No, I think Lamont's going to push more, but I think that even gives Tank a little bit more openings to maybe even finish the job better. But it goes to show you, I mean, hey, the hunger needs to be there. And I think Tank probably needed this too to kind of boost that up. It's a great fight. I look forward to it. I look forward to the rematch. God willing, it's done.
He wasn't just surviving, he was winning rounds, controlling the pace, and frustrating the Baltimore star. And then there was the 9th round controversy. When Tank took a knee and ran to his corner to have his face wiped, referee Steve Willis didn't call it a knockdown. Instead, he let the fight continue, a decision that had fans and analysts questioning what really happened. Even days later, the New York State Athletic Commission gave an unconvincing explanation, citing technical issues as the reason they couldn't review the moment in real time. That only added fuel to the fire, making the rematch even more personal for Roach. He doesn't just want to run it back, he wants to finish what he started. Tank, on the other hand, has options. He doesn't need to take this fight right now. A matchup with Shakur Stevenson or even Devin Haney would be far more lucrative and would give him more time to restructure his team.
I think he is going to be a little more aggressive because he said that Tank couldn't punch, so he figured he could take Tank's punches. So I think he is going to try to be a little more aggressive, which could, like Dub said, can open him up to get hit with a big shot because you kept that left hand up.
There's even been talk about a potential fight with Jake Paul, something that would generate insane pay-per-view numbers. But there's also pride. Tank doesn't like the way things ended against Roach. He knows people are questioning him, and a fighter of his stature doesn't just let that slide. Walking away from the rematch could be seen as a sign of weakness, and that's not a label Tank wants attached to his name. If anything, that might be what's pushing him to take this fight as soon as possible. Barry Hunter, who worked with Tank ahead of the Roach fight, is also in an uncertain position. With Tank looking to revamp his camp, Hunter could be out just as quickly as he was brought in. That only adds to the chaos. If Tank does go through with the rematch in May, the biggest question remains who will actually be in his corner.
He take a knee. You need to lose like 10-8 that round at least, no? And plus the corner go up and put it a towel in the face. That's a disqualification for sure. I'm talking about the rules, but you know.
If both Calvin Ford and Barry Hunter are out, that means Tank will be stepping into the ring with a completely new team, one that hasn't been tested under fire. That's a risk most fighters wouldn't take, but Tank isn't most fighters. He's built his career on proving doubters wrong, on showing up when people expect him to fail. Maybe that's what he's banking on again. Maybe he believes that even with a new camp, his raw talent will carry him through. But Roach isn't coming to play. He's hungrier than ever, and he feels like the first fight proved he belongs at the top. He's not giving Tank any time to get comfortable. He's pushing for the rematch before Tank can fully recover, before he can settle into a new rhythm. It's a smart move, one that could tilt the odds in Roach's favor.
Gervonta Davis lose to Roach. Yes, he did. Even without that whole bizarre situation where Davis took a knee, which should have been scored as a knockdown in Roach's favour, I believe Roach still edged it. Should he have been fighting Roach in the first?
That's why this situation is so dangerous for Tank. He's already dealing with uncertainty in his camp, and now he's being rushed into a rematch he might not be fully prepared for. If he wins, all the doubts disappear, and he moves forward stronger than ever. But if he loses, that changes everything. A loss to Roach wouldn't just be a setback, it would be devastating. It would shake his status as one of boxing's biggest stars and make people question whether he made the right decisions in overhauling his team. The pressure is all on him. Roach has nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Even without the knee, that should have been a knockdown. I thought I should have won a competitive fight. I think I did what I needed to do necessary to bank the rounds. I'm just a little frustrated with the scorecards. I thought I should have won.
It's been a rough stretch for Tank Davis. What should have been a triumphant moment in a sold-out fight against Lamont Roach Jr. turned into a controversial draw, leaving his undefeated record with a blemish. The frustration from that night hasn't faded, with Roach still calling for a rematch and boxing fans debating whether Tank truly deserved the result. But now, as talks for the rematch heat up and a possible May date is being discussed, another issue has come knocking at Tank's door: legal trouble.
You can't even see who it is. Hey, who is the dude? Who is the dude?
And that right there is why Gervonta.
For someone who was supposed to be focused on his future in the ring, Davis is once again dealing with courtroom drama. A Baltimore judge just spared him jail time after he admitted to violating his probation from a 2020 hit-and-run case, a case that left 4 people injured. Instead of incarceration, the judge extended his probation by 18 months and ordered him to pay a $10,000 donation. But even with that decision, this latest legal hiccup only adds to the growing distractions surrounding the WBA lightweight champion. The question now is, how does this affect the looming rematch with Roach? And more importantly, is Tank even in the right mindset to make the necessary adjustments before stepping back into the ring? Rematches are all about adjustments. If a fighter walks into the second fight with the same game plan, history usually repeats itself. That's why Roach is so eager to run it back. He feels like he already has the blueprint to beat Tank. But here's where things get tricky. If the rematch happens in May, that gives Davis just about 2 months to make meaningful changes to his camp. And with everything else going on in his life, that might not be enough time. Davis has never been the type of fighter to overhaul his camp after a tough fight. He's remained loyal to his longtime trainer, Calvin Ford, and his style has worked for him. However, the Roach fight exposed real weaknesses, particularly his tendency to coast early and only turn up the pressure in the later rounds. If Tank wants to silence the doubters and dominate in the rematch, he might need a fresh approach. But can he afford to make those changes on such short notice? Adjusting sparring partners, tweaking his strategy, improving conditioning, these things take time. 2 months might not be enough, especially when you add in the distractions of his probation extension and ongoing legal drama. Tank has already shown that he struggles with discipline outside the ring, and now, when he needs absolute focus, he's dealing with courtroom visits and public scrutiny. The pattern is hard to ignore. The Roach fight ended in controversy, then came the unexpected split from Calvin Ford, and now legal issues are creeping back in. If Tank was looking for a smooth path into the biggest fights of his career, this is the exact opposite.
I'm not sure, bro. Hopefully we can get it before
that the one you want next?
Even without the legal issues, taking an immediate rematch against Roach isn't necessarily the smartest move. Fighters often need time to process what went wrong in a fight, and Tank barely has that luxury. Roach, on the other hand, is treating this rematch like the opportunity of a lifetime. He's already been in camp, sharpening his skills and analyzing every second of their first fight. He knows exactly what he needs to do differently. Meanwhile, Tank has spent part of his time dealing with probation violations, facing potential jail time, and trying to manage his career without Mayweather's backing. The worst thing a fighter can do is underestimate their opponent. Tank already walked into the first fight looking unprepared, assuming he could take his time and still get the win. If he makes the same mistake in the rematch, he might walk out with his first loss instead of another controversial draw.
He got good skills. That's why he's here. I think he's 25-0 with 10 knockouts. So I think he's a A+ fighter.
If Tank is really serious about making the most of his career, he might need to slow things down. A rushed rematch could backfire badly, especially if he isn't 100% mentally locked in. There's no shame in taking an extra few months to regroup, fine-tune his training camp, and get his legal issues fully behind him. If he does go through with the rematch in May, he needs to be all in. No more distractions, no more courtroom visits, no more last-minute adjustments. Because if he steps in that ring half-prepared, Roach isn't going to let him off the hook this time. How do you see this playing out? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more updates.